Hey everyone, Tak here, bringing you another delightful dip into the warming waters of game development. Today we're looking at Super Mario Bros. I try to do a new one of these every week, so be sure to subscribe and like so you didn't miss out on some neat nuggets of factual goodness about some of the world's most treasured games. Super Mario was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka, originally released in 1985. The name Super Mario Bros. Specifically refers to the fact that Mario can use a super mushroom to become big. The team had wanted to have a bigger Mario than in the first game, but after the bigger Mario's implementation, Miyamoto felt it still didn't feel very rewarding to the player. This led to the idea of allowing Mario to grow within the game. The use of the mushrooms was considered to be something globally recognisable as having mysterious properties, and also derived from Japanese folklore of people walking into forests and eating magical mushrooms. This is also the reason the game takes place within the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario was not initially described as a platformer. In fact, the name didn't actually exist on its release. Miyamoto called it an athletic game due to the running and jumping involved. There had been other athletic games at this point, including the first Mario, but Super Mario Bros. Would take things in a new direction by introducing the idea of side-scrolling. Both the technical know-how and game design of earlier titles Excitebike and Kung Fu had shown developers how to implement side-scrolling. Miyamoto has said that with previous games it was possible to see the whole screen and play your strategy. He wanted to create something where you could strategize while scrolling sideways in long distances. Due to the team's work with previous title Excitebike, it was easy to have Mario smoothly accelerate from a walk to a run rather than moving at a constant speed as in earlier titles. In the initial designs for Mario, the intention had been to use jump on the up of the D-pad, with the A button reserved for attacks. Before the game moved to its overworld-underworld setting, it had originally been set on the ground and in the sky, the latter parts of the game having Mario or Luigi fly on a rocket ship. This is the reason that the A button was initially intended for attacking, as Mario would have used a rocket or gun to shoot objects whilst in the sky. Remnants of this can be seen in the 4-3 world where Mario jumps between mushrooms and floating platforms, as well as in some of the bonus sections. Development of Super Mario Bros. Was happening alongside the development of The Legend of Zelda, and this tandem development led to some interesting connections between the two games. For example, the flame effect used in Super Mario Bros. Were originally intended as an object in Zelda. Aesthetically, Miyamoto had wanted to create a game that was easy on the eyes, but also pop from the screen. He'd wanted to move away from the black backgrounds of earlier titles and include both over and underground levels. This gave him the idea of the blue sky background in the overworld to be simple but also distinct from the darker underworld. Originally, the first enemy you encountered was a Koopa Trooper. This was changed to a Goomba as it was considered a more simplistic and easy to defeat enemy. The original design of the Goomba was intended to telegraph to the player that they could be jumped on. It reminded one developer of a chestnut, which is Kuri in Japanese, and how the name Kuribo or Goomba came about. Bowser is not a dragon as is often believed. He is in fact the result of a brainstorming session between Miyamoto and Tezuka. Miyamoto had originally considered an ox, taking inspiration from the 1960 anime Alakazam the Great, but Tezuka thought he looked more like a turtle. The final Bowser is a result of the implementation of these ideas and would go on to influence other enemies within the game, such as the Koopa Troopers. Most games within the 8-bit era of games consoles did not include a tutorial. Even a relatively complex game such as The Legend of Zelda encouraged players to refer to the bundled manual to help with gameplay. World 1.1 was therefore cleverly designed to slowly introduce players to the key elements of the game, from the first Goomba to the mystery blocks and mushrooms, to creating a safe jump for the player and then being able to use the B button to run across small gaps. Even the first mushroom is difficult to miss with the inclusion of the floor block to force players towards it. World 1.1 was primarily about teaching the player, and then from World 1.2 onwards there was more focus on creating fun and interesting puzzles for the player to work through. Koji Kondo wrote a 6-track score for Mario Bros, as well as its associated soundtrack. His work on Mario helped to solidify sound design as a necessary aspect of video games. Before, sound was principally used to attract attention in arcades, not to enhance or conform to the game. Kondo would change this in Mario, where he aimed to achieve two specific goals for his music: to convey an unambiguous sonic image of the game world, and to enhance the emotional and physical experience of the gamer. Unlike most musical compositions at the time, Kondo was involved with the development team from the beginning, and he worked in tandem with the rest of the team to create its soundtrack, using a small piano to help write the game's score. Kondo's compositions were largely influenced by the game's gameplay and were further refined through Nintendo's playtesters. Super Mario Bros. Was released in Japan on Friday the 13th of September 1985 for the Famicom system, and later the same year for the NES system. Its exact release date in the US is debated, but most believe it was released on October 1985 as a launch title for the NES. By January of 1986, 3 million copies had been sold in Japan. In North America, more than 1 million copies were sold in 1986, and more than 4 million by 1988. As of April 2000, it has sold over 40 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling video game of all time. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so I can pump out some more lovely gaming goodness. I'll see you next time.